Ladies and gentlemen, mech warriors of all ages, mech fans around the world in the Innersphere, live from NGNG Studios, it's a Backer Mission live stream number 2, featuring from Harebrained Scheme, studio creative director Jordan Wiseman, studio manager Mitch Gittleman, and co-creative director of Battletech Mike McCain. Good morning, guys. I am joined.
Morning.
Good morning. I am joined today by Phil, aka Sean Lang. Phil, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're all getting
Phil.
coffeed up, except for Jordan.
Sorry, for some odd reason, I was just thinking there might be bourbon in that cup. Is that wrong to assume?
We can neither confirm nor deny that.
That's the next one. If they if the audience unlocks it, then it's one scotch, one beer, one
wine
whiskey.
spritzer.
Good song.
Those are fighting words, just saying.
Yeah, so you said if we unlock it. Some interesting numbers. Of course, the initial funding goal was reached in the first hour. In the first 24 hours, you reached 1,010,000 backers. Now we just went over the 2 million mark, which unlocks the customizable home base. Which, have you guys decided if that's a drop ship?
We're actually going to post an update a little later today talking about some of the things you can customize your home base with. We are not at a point yet of figuring out the kinds of ships and things like that yet, but we do know the kind of modules that we want you to be able to play with, and so we got an update that talks about the different types of modules and that you can plug in there. Just the beginning of what'll be a longer list of modules.
And the design team is enjoying the debate that's going on in the comments thread. Keep it going. Enjoy yourselves. So we'll watch and maybe we can learn something.
Oh yeah, it's very informative.
Passionate Battletech Mech Warrior fans. Well, congratulations on the 2 million mark. It's pretty amazing. Got quite a few days left. I believe we're going to see that 2.5.
It's happening.
Anyway,
Let's hope so.
We got all fingers and all toes crossed. Got a few questions for you guys, and we'll kick off the live Q&A if that's all right with you.
That's great.
Go.
That's what we're here for.
All right. Well, let's start off with Jordan, with you. The year is 1988. I remember buying Crescent Hawk's Inception for my Commodore 64.
Uh-huh.
What led to the creation of that first Battletech game? And did you have any idea how many Battletech-inspired video games you'd be working on over the next 10 or 15 years? Let alone...
He's a visionary, but he's not that visionary.
That's right. My games
almost
can
30
predict
days
the future.
later.
I cannot.
I'm probably just starting to speak in sentences.
In 88?
Yeah, in 88. Yeah, exactly. In swaddling clothes, he was.
We were both preparing for our weddings.
I was already married.
In 88?
Yes.
Oh.
87 got married. Anyway,
Well, where did the idea
so
for
what
the
brought
game
that
come
about
from?
was there was a really talented guy by the name of Chris Earhart, who unfortunately passed away just last year. But he was a producer at Infocom, which is a company that up to that point had just been doing had just really kind of innovated the whole kind of text-based adventure game format, and they did everything from Zork and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Leather Goddess of Phobos,
yes.
and on and on. They've done all these great games, but they were all text-based. And Chris was leading them to, had been brought in to take them into doing their first graphic title, and he was a big BattleTech fan from the board game, and so he came and negotiated a license with us for Infocom, and then I worked with him, and he led the development. I was just kind of consulting with him, but did a great title, which really kind of captured the spirit and the story of Battletech in the era. It was much like what we're trying to do here with a mercenary company in that 3025 era, and it was a really good mix of tactics and RPG. That one leaned more on RPG than on tactics, partly because of what you could do on a Commodore at the time. But it was a great title. And then, of course, it was followed up by Crescent Hawk's Revenge. Could I have foreseen what was going to take place next? No, and no way, because what happened was Infocom got bought by Activision. And then Activision, still had several years left on the license at that point, and wanted to take it into more of a graphic and real-time experience. And so their first title was MechWarrior 1. which was, shall we phrase it, a learning exercise. And then MechWarrior 2, which was a very long development, and they actually developed the game twice, because the first one didn't work out, and we spent a lot of time with them because we had been pioneering that same space with the Battletech Center cockpits and how to do 3D and so on. And MechWarrior 2, as introduced by the guy who was then out of swaddling clothes and now using a joystick with his first PC game. It really that game just exploded in all sorts of crazy directions. I think I was reading in an article last year that it's still like the highest unit seller Activision's ever had. Not the highest dollar anymore by any means, but they were putting so many copies of that thing out in both normal sales and in OEM deals, where it gets packaged in with other hardwares. I mean, it was like practically coming in cereal boxes by the end of it. It was everywhere.
Yeah,
so.
OEM. I remember when MechWarrior 2 came out, I was really just down the street from you, and I was making children's games, and somebody brought it in and loaded it up on one of our Pentium, or maybe not. No, it was before that.
Yeah.
He shows it off, and I just looked around and I'm like, yeah, the hell with this. That's when I contacted Tom Dowd and said, call Jordan for me.
Well, and here we are, almost 30 years later, another BattleTech title in the making.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Right. It's too
Hey,
early
I'm there with
for
you.
The sarcasm, really.
I think I relate to Mike. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and actually, Phil, weren't you one of those people that got the OEM version with your computer?
No, but I got the game and then my computer couldn't handle it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
you had to get a new computer to play the game.
Yeah,
that's right.
that was fun.
I wonder how many people's computers you upgraded without thinking about it, Jordan.
I think actually there was a pretty big impact in the computer industry. And Microsoft launched a joystick, the Sidewinder, with the rotation for the torso specifically for the game. I mean,
that was so good.
That was pretty unique.
I'm pretty sure I played through the entire campaign at a silky smooth 10 or 15 frames a second.
Look out.
Hey, in those days, we were like 15 was considered good. It was like,
yes,
that's like, hey, 15 frames.
It was
a
really
second.
cool. I stuck with it.
Hear
Well,
that,
I would
kids?
love to
Well,
play
to be
a
fair-
Sidewinder game. I would love to.
To be fair, to remember back then too. I mean, literally, MechWarrior 2 was the leading edge technology as far as the computer. And that's something that
Absolutely.
you look back at, and I remember the PlayStation version came out and all that, and back then it was just like, oh my God, look at this. And now you're just like, you're looking back, it's like, wow, that jump from
Come a long
technology. I mean, it has,
Mitch,
Yes.
speaking of
All right,
MechWarrior 2.
fire another one off. What do we got?
Yeah, this one's for Mitch. First Mech Commander title was released in 1998 after MechWarrior and MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries. Where did the idea for Mech Commander come from? Do you remember the inspiration for creating a Battletech RTS?
Actually, that question has to go to Jordan because the game was actually in development for a while. I was hired at FASA Interactive to work with Jordan on Crimson Skies.
Yeah, actually, the precursor of.
It was called Corsairs.
It was called Corsairs. That's right.
And so that's what I was brought in for. And then there was a big meeting of people that were higher than my pay grade, and they said, "By the way, you're producing Mech Commander now." So maybe you could tell how the RTT came about, the real-time tactical game.
Exactly. So we were in development on MechWarrior, and we were looking to kind of explore the universe from a different perspective and develop a second line of BattleTech games. And so the idea was to kind of go back more to your role as it was on the tabletop, where you're commanding, a military force as opposed to being the mech warrior, the pilot of a single mech. And we were looking at kind of what had been happening in the RTS space and trying to think about what would that apply to Battletech. Battletech doesn't have the dynamics of building buildings which crank out troops, as had been seen in StarCraft and Warcraft and the other RTS that went in that wake. And so we tried to find an innovative way to kind of have RTT, a real-time tactical game that benefited from the kind of fluidity of command, but dealt with resources in a very different way. And also, unlike RTS games, where the campaign you start every mission of a campaign all over, right? Because you have to build everything again. Here we wanted more of like what you see in BattleTech, that continuity of resources, that you're carrying that through the whole campaign.
Which was one of the greatest challenges of that game.
It was really great in concept, hard to execute.
And that's our lives together, pal.
Which is why we're signing up to do that again. Because in this one, if the mercenary campaign, you're going to be managing, your unit as it grows. Now, the difference there is there you were a military unit, so you didn't have the kind of ability to go make money and buy stuff and scrounge. And salvage wasn't a thing.
Salvage was in Mech Commander 1. It was just at the end, we would just give you some stuff that was on the battlefield. It was Mech Commander 2 that we gave you control over what you salvaged.
That's where it came from.
Well, speaking of Mech Commander 2, that was, I believe, 2001. Mitch, what was your input on that? Where, after having worked on the first Mech Commander title, where did you see yourself in the Battletech MechWarrior Mech Commander universe, and what did you do differently with Mech Commander 2? What was the experience like for you?
Mech Commander 2, we started Mech Commander Gold, Desperate Measures, in Chicago. And then when Microsoft bought Fast Interactive, we finished it. Our first thing to do was to finish it in Seattle. So that was kind of interesting because we got to go through the test process with Microsoft and found out, so that's what a test process looks like. But then after that, it was left to me to completely conceive of Mech Commander 2. And so that's where I really got the chance to take the game from beginning to end. And so I got a chance to do anything I wanted. In this case, what we did was we went fully 3D, like we talked about in the comments last night, removed fog of war, created a new sensor system. One of the things we were really interested in was the ability to recover during a mission and more agency on what happens during a mission. So you're not just moving around from mission objective to mission objective. You could fly in. We had this VTOL concept, and you could have the VTOL fly in, drop off a repair unit and fly off, or fly in and with one of your mech warriors and put them into a mech that you had gotten the enemy mech warrior to eject, so you could add to your roster during a mission. And it was really fun fighting an enemy with their own unit in their own unit colors during the mission. That was kind of a fun thing. Anyway, all sorts of stuff like that. I think it could drop off a long time. It's a long time ago. And then we also, one of the things I really wanted to do was steep it more into the Battletech universe by having the live action video cutscenes and things like that. So, more Battletech, more fun.
Talking to you guys is like reliving my childhood. Now, Mike, moving to you and the future, what Shadowrun experiences?
You represent the future, Mike.
You represent the future.
Typecast. Yeah. Okay.
I believe that Mike is our future.
We'll see if that's a good thing or not.
Let him lead the way.
He's out of his swaddling clothes. Mike,
we don't know that, man.
Possibly.
I'm not looking. I'm not. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What Shadowrun experiences are you drawing from in the creation of Battletech, and what feels like new territory to you?
Good question. I think, the biggest thing as far as Shadowrun goes, I think, especially as we continued with the series, we put a lot of time and thought and iteration into storytelling and what were some of the ways that we can create characters that connect and create a story arc that could resonate with the player. So I think, that's even though the medium of storytelling for Battletech is very different, it's not going to be the same sort of sprawling, largely conversation-driven RPG that we delivered with Dragonfall and Hong Kong. I think, the same storytelling principles and lessons that we learned over the course of Shadowrun development absolutely apply. New territory, I guess the biggest new territory is that we want to create a fully 3D battlefield for your mechs, and we want this, I want this to be the best looking game tactical game that we've made. So, that's going to be a lot of exciting new challenges to sort of fully realize everything on the battlefield to the bar that we're setting for ourselves, and I'm really excited for that as an artist.
That's like another interesting challenge in terms of storytelling that we're excited about, that the audience has funded, is taking that into open-ended.
Absolutely.
How to merge procedural generated and story into something that is still kind of emotionally satisfying and provides kind of ongoing play value as you keep advancing your mercenary unit. I think that's exciting design space to be exploring.
Totally.
Awesome. So
I
Mike,
just love how we keep challenging ourselves. Like, okay, let's do this now.
Well, it's more exciting than the alternative.
The alternative is death to me. But
You could go back to Chicago and make those kid games again if you want.
yeah, that would be really exciting. Thanks.
No thanks.
no, I think that's awesome to hear, and I think a lot of people appreciate that sort of I don't know, drive. I want to say towards perfection, but drive towards, hey, we really want to do these things, and we're gonna try doing it. So I think that's a really cool attribute. But Mike, got a question for you in particular. Now that obviously you guys are funded, things are moving forward. I'm sure you're not just sitting around. Is there prototype going on? Is there what's going on with story? Characters. Maybe just get a little bit of feedback on what's going on at HBS right now.
Sure, yeah. So we've got kind of several different paths of development ongoing right now. We've been in pre-production and prototyping mode for a few months now. The art team is, initially we were doing a lot of look and feel, conceptual work to explore the world itself for the Kickstarter. We're starting to move past that into some, okay, what does the game actually look like? Concepting some of the different systems that we'll need to create for the visuals of the game. Design team and the engineering team are working on several prototypes for combat on the battlefield, and that's something that we're just trying to iterate on and play around with a lot at this early stage while we have that opportunity. I think that's something that we've really learned, both over the course of development here and, I'm sure on many projects before, is just this early. It's easy to get locked into things at an earlier stage than is healthy for the project, and so what we're trying to do is just really do our homework, try things, feel free to experiment, and really try to hone in on what's really fun about combat and what makes the game feel like Battletech in the best ways possible. And then the third path, and that sort of pertains to combat in particular right now. The third path of pre-production right now is really just about planning ahead, both in terms of our production schedules, our Chris, our producer, and Chris, our lead engineer. There's a lot of Chris's around here. They're working on, here's a block schedule for the project, and based on some of the funding updates that have come through, which is really cool, and also just setting a lot of the technical framework for how we're going to build things and creating the right architecture for the game. And lastly, on the design side, lots of design documents for all the awesome extended mercenary campaign stuff that
Lots of design documents.
Jordan and I and the other designers on the team we've been starting to dive into and iterate on, but there's still tons more systems to spec out and explore.
All right, so I got to follow up to that,
Good
Mike.
answer.
And this
Sorry,
actually,
I just kept talking. Yeah.
Mike, this is a follow up for you, but also Jordan and Mitch. Your experience, years of experience, literally in the industry. A lot of people aren't used to game development behind the scenes. They've never done it. Sometimes there's pitfalls when the community is exposed to it. Is there any advice that you could tell someone who's watching who maybe is invested into your guys' Kickstarter, and it's going to be a long haul? Is there anything that you could tell them to not fall into those pitfalls of I guess just sort of
From pitfalls in terms of them developing their own games, or in terms of helping us develop this one?
Are you
Well,
talking about
I'm
armchair developers?
maybe not armchair. I guess what I'm getting at is sort of the pitfalls of them not really understanding the dynamics behind the scenes on how development operates, and obviously Kickstarter's out there, and so what are some things that you'd recommend to people if they're not familiar with game development in general?
Making games is hard.
Yeah, I can go. Do you have something to say?
No, I'll go after you. No.
So, first of all, if you are interested in game development, just in general and not just ours, recommend you go to a website called gamasutra.com. And that's a website for professional game developers to write blog posts and stuff like that. And it's a huge wealth of information if you're actually interested in game development. If you're just interested in our game development, having interacted with fans for years on Battletech and Shadowrun, I can tell you, and forgive me if I sound like a broken record to some of you, the best thing that you can do for us, if you want to help the project and still get your thoughts out, is for you to talk among yourselves. It's the best thing for everybody. Rather than saying, hey, HBS, why don't you do this? Or hey, HBS, why don't you think about this? It's actually more valuable to us that it's not a dialogue between us, but it's a dialogue between Battletech fans. Because what happens then is an individual feature or situation or concept can be discussed from multiple kind of expert viewpoints with people who have been steeped in it forever and are really passionate about it. And we can learn from your conversation all sorts of different things that we would never learn having a one-on-one conversation with you. So rather than engaging us, respectfully, positively, and excitedly engage each other, and we will learn from it. So that's my number one thing to say. Anybody else?
I guess my couple of points would be one, patience. It's it's a longer process. We're looking at, by our context, we're projecting about an 18-month development process, which in the world of video games is very short. But in the world of I'm really waiting for my game, it can seem like an eternity. And so I think that's one thing. It's kind of we all don't want to be like we're waiting for our decoder rings, from the cereal box, right? I know the box said 6 to 8 weeks for it to deliver, but why isn't it here tomorrow?
Yeah, and actually to add to that really fast, what happens is a lot of times people will ask us questions about a design idea or decision that's actually about 9 months away, right? And that's the patience part. It's like we have to, and Mike is really good at this, stepping through a process of design, saying this decision will lead to this decision, will lead to this decision. And if we start commenting on things that are several decisions away, it's really not fair because that decision may very well change.
Yeah. So I think, one is, as Mitch was saying, the patience, the order, the process and the order in terms of when we get to decisions. Two, realize that no one game, especially at the relatively modest budgets that our games are built at, can contain everybody's every hope and dream, right? We see our job as being the ones to help shepherd the project through to a successful completion, and that is going to mean saying no to ourselves and to fans, throughout the process, to be able to make sure that we're going to bring a well constructed, well executed game to market, as opposed to just a bag of infinite holding of ideas that never actually gets finished.
Yeah, or your quality to just sort of dilutes.
Yeah.
And we talk about that on the comments page all the time. Focus equals quality.
Yeah, and our hope is here, right, that this is only the first of the Battletech games we get to make with you guys, and so it's not that we don't want to see the things that you want to see or the ideas that we have to shelf. We just have to be careful about how many we can do at one go. So I think that's the other thing is just recognizing we have to
there aren't that many
throttle
of us.
ourselves in that regard. And then lastly, even though we've been doing this for a long time, that doesn't mean that we won't make mistakes, that we won't be really excited about an idea and spent months working on it only to realize that it's not going to work. And that will happen, and we will tell you when it happens. We'll tell you why it happened and tell you where we're going from there. But it there is no such thing as a game development that moves flawlessly from concept to execution and everything worked out exactly how you planned. It just doesn't work that way. Things
Even on good games.
Exactly. Even on the best of games, the things that looked great on paper don't work on screen sometimes, and you need to adjust. And so
I think the story that Jordan told earlier about MechWarrior 2 is a great example.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know the details of that development, but 5 years is a long time, and building it twice is certainly a thing. But
Done it.
also, it's paid off, and that game obviously was an incredible experience. I just want to add one thing, which I think is building on both what Jordan and Mitch have said, which is there's rarely empirically right answers from the get-go, and there's usually many valid viewpoints to consider around any given design choice or sort of direction that we want to take something. And so, as Mitch was saying, conversation, respectful conversation within the fan base is important. It's also one of the key elements that makes game development work here too. Is we have a lot of iterative conversations. Everyone is able to bring a different viewpoint to that, and we don't have any. Game development is not, I have an idea and it's brilliant and now everyone's going to make it.
Not anymore.
Or that's everyone contributes and builds the thing, and it takes all that collaboration. And it takes consideration of a lot of different factors and viewpoints that may not always be immediately apparent. So I guess where I'm going with that is that's something that's really important to us, and the ultimate quality of the product comes out of that heavy iteration process. Absolutely. Where it's not as simple as, well, this should be this way. It's a very careful process, and we look at both what we think and what you guys think, and all that goes.
Yeah, and production realities.
Exactly. But I think I want to build on one word that Mike mentioned, which is incredibly important to us here, which is respect. I think we've had a great relationship with our backers on Shadowrun and on Golem Arcana, because we think they feel we really respect their opinions, and they respect that we're really working hard to make them the best game we can. And so that allows the conversation to be one that is constructive and respectful of everybody, because we're all motivated by the same thing. And I think that's the key thing. We just got to keep it on that level where it's like, even if we aren't doing the feature you really hoped for, we hope that you understand that that's, because we really wanted we had to balance all of those things together, and that doesn't mean that we're making a bad game or that we haven't listened to you or we don't respect your input. Just there's many factors to be considered and many balancing points that have to be brought into line.
Excellent. Good answers, guys. Thank you.
I thought the live feed was over, and it was just this pause. Like, oh crap!
No, we're still here. We're going to move into questions from the audience. You guys ready for that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Go.
Excellent. Okay. Let's see. Oh, don't forget, guys, in the chat, don't forget to tag @Erodian for your questions. We have a few people helping us out. They'll get them on the doc. First question is, will recruitable hireable mech warriors come with their own mech? If so, will recruited hired mech warriors refuse to allow you to sell their mech?
Generally, probably not.
Yeah, I think our default answer for that is that they don't, right? That they
don't come with a mech.
They don't come with a mech. You're hiring the talent, and you need to provide the hardware. Now, one of the next goal we're working on is the legendary mechs and mech warriors. That would be different, right? If you've managed to meet up with one of these legendary mech warriors, they would come with their mech, but they're also not going to join you forever, right? It's going to be some set of circumstances that gives you an opportunity to work with that person for a period of time. So they would come with their mech in that case. But I think our kind of default answer is that most of the hireable mech warriors are individuals, and you need to provide the gear.
Excellent. Phil, you got another one?
Yep. We've got. Will your hired mech warriors have morale? Do they follow you till death, or do they maybe leave your unit if you accept mission from a wrong faction?
I think they reflect Harebrained Schemes developers in that they follow you until death.
This is a space that we're very excited to explore because we're not sure what the depth of this of what we're going to be able to get into here. The concept of morale is one we really want to try to address, and because we want, as you're playing with those different things, like what factions you're working for, which ones you're working against, how much you're paying them, if you're sending them out in the field in broken mechs, it would be great. And again, we don't know how deep we can go on this yet, to have that actually affect morale. And the ultimate expression of morale is they quit and leave, but so yeah, it is a space that we find very exciting to deal with.
Awesome. Okay, as the multiplayer part of the game is looming ever closer, will players be able to reserve an in-game call sign or name before the game is released?
Had not thought about it at all.
No, but we haven't thought about that. But
We'll just say thank you for the idea.
Yeah, and it seems like something backers should be able to do, doesn't it?
It does.
So we'll look into that right away.
None of that was a commitment in any way, shape, or
No,
form.
that was me looking at Chris going, Chris, let's look right into that.
Take notes.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I just heard a feature get added. Okay, next.
All right, next question. Considering this is a modern game and a modern engine, will player POV be fixed or will be changeable, i.e. hold down a key or mouse button and rotate angles, raise lower camera elevation, zoom in and out?
Mike and I were just talking about this the other day.
Yeah, much more fluid camera goals, with a fully 3D game than Shadowrun, for example. We'd like to be able to have a sort of light cinematic presentation for attacks and things like that in turn-based. We're still exploring how much we can do with that, but I know I was watching the guys that
Apologies, guys. We're having some audio issues.
something else.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, they did a great talk at it wasn't DDC, it was like some event a couple weeks ago. But
Hey,
anyways,
HBS, we're
really
having
cool
some
camera.
pretty bad packet loss on your end, over
a lot of,
65%. So, guys, we apologize just for the technical difficulties. Hopefully, it'll set itself up, and they just DC'd.
Somebody can kick the internet in the butt, please.
Yeah, I don't know. They have like the...
I think we're gonna have to. Are we gonna have to reconnect the call?
Yeah, just give me a second. Guys, we'll be right back momentarily. Redo the call or... All right, they're back on TeamSpeak, so we have them, but the call... Go ahead and redo the call.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, Jordan. Sorry, we lost a video with you guys.
Yeah, it seems like
Oh,
it's coming from your end. It's catching up, Phil.
Okay, it's catching up. All right. I turned the feed off, so...
Our internet can be a little hitchy here.
Yeah, I saw the packet loss jump up. It was like 65%.
Yeah, get the squirrels moving again.
That's right. I think
it's slowly coming
good
back.
to
Let me turn it back on.
Yep.
It's pixelated, but it's going.
As long as we can hear the voices, which we can. This next question is one that I'm particularly excited about, as I'm constantly reading, and the idea of new work from Stackpole gets me really excited. I can't wait. The question is, will the Stackpole novellas also be available for everyone at a later point, or are they Kickstarter exclusives?
Currently, they are Kickstarter exclusives. And we don't currently have a path for them to be available for everyone. Those that due to the way that the different licensing works out. It's not to say that at one point in the future it might be figured out how they could become available to everyone, but at the moment we can only commit that they're available to backers.
As a follow-up on the licensing issue, is there any further developments on, for example, Mike, I would love to see a book with all of the concept art or anything like that. Physical items, merchandise, any progression on that?
We are working with Tops to try to come up with an arrangement that would allow us to produce some merchandise items for in support of the game, and we are hopeful, but it's not concluded yet.
All right, Phil, you got the next one?
Just one second. Okay, next one we've got during the battle, how complex will the control options be regarding like having full control over heat management and ammo management?
For us, those are kind of like the price of admission, right? Your resources are so valuable in BattleTech, and heat and ammo are the two primary resources. So as we're vetting lots of different kinds of ways, as Mike mentioned, we're doing lots of different prototypes. That ability to have very explicit control on those things is a very high priority for us.
All right, next question is, how do you plan to make the endless campaign endlessly engaging? Would modestly priced DLC mini campaigns be an option? And boy, I hope so.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we'd be looking at sort of post-launch, I think. But before that, the campaign itself, now that we've funded the extended mercenary campaign, something I'm really excited about is the procedural mission generation and things like we can roll. There's a lot of ways to sort of. I think there will be a lot of interesting ways for us to keep content fresh and roll different missions for you across the across a portion of the inner sphere and do things like, well, it's the same general map set, but the starting locations are different, and the weather, the mood of the environment is completely different.
And
It's
of
like
course, the
storming or clear.
Opposing forces.
Yeah,
are
and the
different.
forces are different.
And mission objectives.
Yeah, and then the story layer on top of that, ways to sort of keep that feeling fresh and alive in the world is something that we're still looking at. So there's still an open question of, will you eventually cap out in terms of, well, I've got all the things, but it's kind of too early to say how long that'll support you.
Yeah, but our goal is to to both make it ongoing challenging, both on the economic side and on the tactical side. Economic meaning how to keep growing your unit and acquiring more cool stuff for the unit, but also facing the challenges of then having to feed all those mouths. But we don't want the battle to kind of just turn into whack-a-mech, right? And we want to make sure that those battles that are being procedurally created are tactically interesting and fun.
And that is actually why we're spending so much time in the beginning on the tactical combat, because it's the core of everything. So if tactical combat is fun, then even if it is procedurally generated and you're doing it for a long time, if the tactical combat is fun, the tactical combat's fun.
The stages of the Kickstarter are actually somewhat representative of our development trajectory too, right? We start with skirmish, with the base game, how combat works, and then expand out into here's what we can create for story and procedural systems.
Yep.
The larger mercenary management side of things.
All right, so
With just to follow up real quick, with the DLC being pretty commonplace these days with a lot of titles, where do you guys think, okay, this needs to be DLC, or at what point do you think, okay, it's time for the next game altogether, which we all have our fingers and toes crossed for?
Well, I think
We'll make this game first.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to make this one first, and we're going to put everything we can in it first before we start thinking about what possibly could go into DLC or where the next title would take us. We have some kind of very back of the envelope but exciting ideas for where future titles are that would offer different style of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't just be like another campaign pack, but it would really change up how the game's played. But that's Mike said first things first, let's make this one.
Always in motion is the future.
all right, so Mike, this is actually a follow-up to what Darren just asked about sort of the endless campaign. You mentioned an Iron Man mode. Have you guys thought about doing a sort of leaderboard or stats where people's profiles can be uploaded and someone can, like a leaderboard? Have you guys thought about that?
Yeah, certainly would be cool, especially like you said for Iron Man mode. I would say if the multiplayer tier is funded, that becomes a lot more likely because we'll already have leaderboard locations and things like that built for PvP. So expanding that to include your sort of top campaign performance.
I would say that without the PvP, we probably wouldn't do the leaderboard.
Yeah,
because
the
of
other thing I
one-off
will add
investment.
though is, single player isn't necessarily or isn't authenticated as far as like this is something you could be playing offline and whatever, potentially tinkering with. So I don't know that sort of leaderboard would have the same level of
integrity,
accuracy as a PvP server
But there-
authenticated.
You haven't read what I wrote last night, but there are some opportunities, I think, for PvE leaderboard, kind of asynchronous competitive where you're, and so it's something that we'd love to explore. To get further down into that, but as Mitch and Mike said, that kind of stuff gets unlocked if we hit multiplayer, because then we've got the whole back end infrastructure to be able to, track and report everything.
Solid.
And as we've said many times before, we really believe in this as a post-launch product, not as a fire and forget. So, we're looking at live team. If we fund multiplayer, we're hoping that we want to be able to do part of additional funds for the live team going to new scenarios, like we talked about, including co-op type scenarios, 2 players against AI for specific scenarios, and we want to keep on adding stuff. So.
All right, so next question we have, and this would be towards, I believe, Mike. What level of graphical detail are you hoping for in the individual mech level? Things like custom unit decals, unit paint schemes, or camo, or changes due to swapping weapons, or salvage, or battle damage?
Yeah.
37 features there.
there are.
We're gonna go ahead.
So part of what gets represented on your mech will depend on the fidelity is the wrong word. The constraints of our mech customization system, which all comes down to we want to offer a really high level of customization without rendering the choice of chassis meaningless.
Exactly.
From a design standpoint, once we've reached the right balance point there, you can swap out a lot of components, but there's certain things about a chassis that define it. Then we'll have a better sense of how that's represented visually. We're definitely looking at, we know we want to do paint scheme variants, like the Order of Valhalla unique variant that we announced yesterday. I don't know. Time is fluid right now. So we want to do. We want you at a minimum. You'll be able to customize the emblem of your own mercenary unit. That emblem will appear on your mechs. It may be fairly small when you're actually playing the game, and then you'll be able to customize your color scheme as well. Certainly, at least the primary color, probably primary, secondary, tertiary, and then apply that within a paint scheme. The way to think about that is the paint scheme defines the areas of color and any patterns and graphics on the mech, and then your color choices are applied to that pattern.
Right, and by the way, the emblem will be pretty large though in the mech bay, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you'll see the emblem all over the place.
All over the place,
Yeah.
but it'll be on the mechs as well.
Yeah. And mechs are,
But if you're
Yeah.
looking all the way up here, and the emblem's a little thing on.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps answer. That's kind of what we know so far.
Yeah, and part of the question, forgive me, was also if any thoughts about mech damage.
It's
Well,
important.
Yes, we think they should get hurt. We are tracking because you're going to be able to, repair and replace and to some extent modify components. Then damage also needs to be tracked at a component level, and that then trickles all the way into salvage, where salvage is on a component level as well.
All right, Mike, you mentioned Valhalla. There was a question actually about that.
Sure.
He writes, you wrote about Valhalla that only members of the Order of Solaris champions have access. What makes a Solaris champion? How can a regular player get there?
Well, this is something that we pulled from fiction. So in the books that were written about Solaris 7, the kind of balls of Valhalla were the most elite were gathered, and it was kind of you had to be like really high level nobles, or particularly great spies, or heads of big mercenary companies. And for the kind of common mech warrior to get in there, it was through distinguishing themselves in the arenas of Solaris 7. So the premise would be that, as we go back to our previous discussion about leaderboards, that players who have, and eventually there'll be probably several different types of leaderboards for different types of experiences, or maybe even per arena. We don't know yet. But that, as you've been successful in competitions and moved yourself up on leaderboards, that you would then have access to Valhalla. Just trying to parallel what was in the fiction, which was kind of something was pretty cool. It's also pretty funny because about a block away from our office, there was a dive bar named Valhalla. That was kind of like the HBS unofficial watering hole.
Well, practically official. We had our Christmas party there.
That's true. And so when we started working on this stuff, everybody's like, "Oh, that's so cool! You named it after the bar." I was like, "Well, no, actually, we named it that 30 years ago. It's just
either the bar or Fury Road.
That's right.
That is a crazy coincidence.
It's cosmic. That's all it is.
Indeed.
Cosmic.
This next question.
And then
actually,
some ancient Norse people stole it from us.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
I hate when they go back in history and steal your stuff.
This question, I think, is for you, Jordan, which it's a very interesting question, and I would love to hear the answer. Is there any event in the Battletech timeline that you would like to change?
Wow.
Oh, all right.
Wow. Now, wait a minute. Before Mr. Weissman answers, Mr. Weissman has studied at the feet of Mr. Lucas and understands that change isn't always positive. So
Yes.
don't take any of this as we're going to do it.
Well, I mean, what Mitch is getting at is the betrayal that I and many others felt when Han was changed to shooting second, and we want to be very careful about that kind of change, right? Because this is a universe that we grew up with, and it's embedded in our own personal histories of gaming and childhood, and
it's a shared
social
universe.
thing, yeah, and thus it is shared, right? So yes, there are. We want to be, it's like that old campfire thing, leave no trace.
But this is only Wishford. Right?
Well, I mean,
Just
I
Wish.
think there are the only things I would say that I think, and some of these are not like represent big changes to history. Some of them are just little kind of changes of tone, right? I think one of the things that obviously you've heard us talk a lot about is the excitement of working in a universe that's in decline, right? That the technological decline and the social ramifications of that. The way that it brings you towards salvage, and the feudal system, and the way that the hardware, like a great sword, gets passed from generation to generation. That is a theme which we want to really explore, and I think when we did BattleTech the first time all those years ago, we kind of left that theme behind a little earlier than I would have liked to have. We kind of ramped up tech, and it wasn't so much a conscious effort of like trying to move past it. I think we just kind of lost track of it a little bit as we kind of rolled into the fourth succession war and stuff. So ideally, that would be something I'd love to keep more at the core of the universe for a longer period of time. Just that sense, because I think it helps differentiate in the world, and it feels just more interesting. So I mean, I think that's probably one of them. I love the Machiavellian politics. It's obviously a place we want to spend a lot of time in, and I don't think I think we did, and many authors subsequent to me did a great job of continuing those Machiavellian shenanigans in all sorts of interesting ways, and we want to emphasize. I'd love to play in that space again. So I mean, it's all like little tweaks that would be fun to play with, but I don't then no big ones like, oh, wish I never like did that.
Cool.
So
Congratulations.
You won't see, even if we're like putting a little sandpaper here and there, it's not like we're going to go off and change the story in any kind of significant way.
There's some Womp Rats that I really wish made it into.
And
No
more
Jar
burping.
Jar.
I'll stop.
Can we do
It's
more
painful.
burping, please?
Right, and there's of course those whole intelligent aliens, which
Oh yeah, we
I-
got big plans. For
I always
that.
meant to write those in,
Yeah.
and never got around to it. So
Yeah.
now's my chance.
Please do
Right.
not spread that around. There's going to be no intelligent aliens in Battletech.
Time travel.
Or time travel. Son of a.
How about shield generators?
All right, just for the record, we put that in Mech Assault because it was an arcade game. So, yeah, I felt bad about it at the time, but it's kind of like, you gotta do it.
All right, so Jordan,
Alright.
this one's
And
for
Han
you.
shot first.
No, he did
just
not
in
shoot
case.
first. He shot.
Just for
There was no
clarification.
second.
Exactly.
It's like,
There you
he
go.
shot and Greedo turned into a pile of goo.
All right, so Jordan, this one's for you. We asked you last time, and I think even the first one, the Unseen Classical, and then you guys announced the Marauder and Warhammer. Let's just take a moment to sort of let that sink in for
Breathe
a
it
second.
in.
But what does this mean for the others? And some people may not realize that it covers more than just the big four. Are there plans to expand on that?
Well, we've been having a really good series of discussions with the guys at Piranha, and so I think we are all
And Catalyst.
and Kettles, yeah, absolutely. But in this particular case, on the mechs, with the design work they've been doing on the geometry of the mechs. So we're not in a position to announce anything, but at the moment. But I think we are excited about upcoming announcements that will be made over the next handful of months. So that's all we can say because we don't want to ruin any of their thunder.
But if they do more,
And we will.
safe
Then
to
it's
say
likely.
we'll be looking at putting
Exactly.
those in our game too.
Yeah, absolutely. We will remain at parity with them on this issue.
Yeah, obviously, besides the big four, there's 6 other mechs that are possibilities. We all look forward to hearing the news on those. Now, we have a couple questions regarding the Kickstarter, the different buy-ins and packages and so forth. So the first one is, what will it take for you to add a $600 all-banner tier? And then the second question is, will we be able to upgrade our pledge after the Kickstarter ends? For example, my budget allows for me to get in at $25, but I'd love to get the Stackpole e-novellas at $50 later.
Want to take that
So
one, Rich?
let me do the first one first. So a $600 all banners, I think, is kind of a misnomer. It would be $600 for all the swag. Right now, that one is on serious hold. It's just the amount of stuff in there and the shipping just makes it really hard, and so we're probably not going to go that direction. When it comes to all the banners not worth $600.
No, I think he was saying put all
Yeah.
of the faction kits into
Yeah.
one big box.
Yeah, that changes a lot of things. It changes the weight, changes the size of the box. And what it really does when we do the numbers, it puts less money into the game. So
Right. But interesting, and this is one of those cases where discuss it among yourselves, and we'll listen.
yeah,
Is there actually interest in a banner only, but all 6 banners? That would be a
and
different
sure, and I
animal.
know there is.
That would be
right?
an animal we could explore.
Well, yeah, but then where do you put that?
I don't know. That's a good
because the way these things work is if you put it in one level, you're not going to have a standalone level just for all the banners, because then everybody at that level and above wants that
Yeah.
too.
And that's what-
anything you add, actually you add to all of them, and so
So
the cost of
overall,
all that.
yeah, that's one of the things that it's hard to understand in a Kickstarter, right? If you put something in at, let's say, the $65 tier or the $125 tier, then everybody above it gets it for free, which is great, except for that meant that we're now losing money funding that was supposed to go to paying for the game, to
Right.
get the game made. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but maybe
Yeah.
it's something we can look at and add. Anyway,
Yeah,
I don't. That's a
that one's
complicated-
really hard,
Yeah.
But again, as Mr. Weissman said before, and I love calling you Mr. Weissman, if we get the rights to sell stuff, we'll sell you stuff. Don't worry, we promise.
Yeah.
Right now, what was the second part of
The second one I can answer, which is
thanks.
so yeah. After the Kickstarter closes, for backers, we use a post Kickstarter tool called BackerKit, and in BackerKit you can in fact modify your pledge level.
Sure.
You can step up to a higher pledge level in BackerKit at that point, and you can
Still add add-ons.
And if there's add-ons, you can add those on during that kind of checkout process as well, and that usually has some time. It's not like overnight. There's month or two in there.
Is
that
it
you've
limited
got
tiers though? Or is
there
will be limited tiers.
It won't be quite as many as there is in base game, but being able to step up will be available.
Right. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that sounds good. I know there's a lot of people that are dealing with paychecks and budgets and
Yes.
Yeah.
so that's good news.
That's why we extended our campaign as long as we did, to make sure that people had a chance to save up and stuff like that. We're sensitive to that.
Yeah, like rent, food,
Battletech.
clothes.
Rent, whatever. Rent, food, Battletech. You can rewear yesterday's clothes.
Okay, all right.
Mech porn, it's important. All right, so next question we have is, now you guys mentioned this earlier, Mitch, with the repair bays. Can we expect on-field repairs, like the repair truck, or repair bays in general?
Another one that we are spending a bunch of time thinking about. This is, one of the challenges in BattleTech, in an ongoing campaign game, is that it is completely ablative, right?
Exactly.
Your units, your force is no more powerful. Is the most powerful the first second of the game, and then after that it's all downhill. And so that is, from a video game standpoint, always been a challenge. That said, we also, in the solutions to that, we don't want to kind of undermine the gravity, the gravitas of taking damage, and make that kind of magically disappear, right? Especially since we want the whole kind of economic nature of damage and repair to be one of the underpinnings of the mercenary campaign. So we have been exploring kind of what are ways that allow us to attack that problem without kind of throwing over the edge and getting into kind of arcadey land,
What about health potions? Have you talked about that? No?
Yeah, well, we're back we are talking to the Harry Potter people about a license, and see if we can put those together.
Gonna redirect this one here really quick.
Thank you.
Now, so at a high level,
Yeah, but wait a minute. Let's talk House Hufflepuff for a minute. All right, you go ahead and read.
do I need to hit the mute button? At a high level, it's really just, we don't want you to be 25 minutes into a mission and feel like you failed it in something you did in the first 5 minutes. So it's about balancing that experience with, like Jordan said, the larger economy of damage and salvage and progression in the game.
Go Hufflepuff.
Come on,
All right.
Ravenclaw.
All right.
Next
They're
question
under-
is very
Hufflepuff is under
specific, and it is: can we get lights on our mechs, like you had lights in Mech Warrior 2? Not light mechs, but lights on your mechs. For example, I'm thinking
Headlights
the
and
Warhammer
stuff,
has
running
that big
lights.
shoulder light.
Yeah.
I think we've got some lights in the concept art, actually, in the city view, game view on the Kickstarter page. We did little spotlights coming off of the mechs.
That one we can sign up for, because the lights are both one, help build the scale of the mech and the interaction between it and the environment, and nowadays in modern rendering engines they're not hard to do. So
All right, next question we have
Helps you
is,
find your mechs, too.
speaking of visibility, will there be a fog of war or where you can't see your mechs outside of sensor range or stuff like that?
Yeah, I did a big write-up on that last night, by the way. Not on ours, but just on Fog of War in general, because there's a balancing act with Fog of War. And what I said last night, just for everybody on the comments page, was, I'm out of it, so I'm going to let you answer. But I wanted you guys to know I did this last night. It was like, what are they thinking about Fog of War? And my answer was, I'm doing this Kickstarter thing. I don't know. I just know that in Mech Commander 1, we had this heavy Fog of War, and then I removed Fog of War in Mech Commander 2. And there's a loss there. There's both a gain and a loss. And so, that exploration gameplay. So just want to get that out there so you knew, I've been talking about it.
all right, well, there you go. Well, we've been doing a lot of thinking about it, and in general, we our design goal is to support fog of war. As Mitch said, and we get into prototypes. If we find that there's more upside to it not being there, then we'll react. But our intention is to explore it because we think it can really help make give purpose to lighter mechs. In a stand up, everybody knows where everybody is fight. The lighter mechs, they can't go toe to toe, right? And so being able to do flanking maneuvers and scouting with lighter mechs is really helped with a fog of war type of situation. And kind of again one of the advantages of a turn base is that we can get into more of the kind of sensor warfare, for lack of a better phrase, than you can afford to do in something like an RTS or in a first person cockpit setting. So it's something that, again, we'll see how it turns out, but that's our intention. Is our initial design direction is to explore fog of war.
Surprise is important. Both being able to surprise someone and being able to be surprised by the opponent. So
right. Then there's that sense of exploration too that you get out of fog of war. That's
All right. Excuse me. Next question. Mike, you've touched on this before, but it's been asked a few times this morning so far. Can you give us some ideas on, first of all, using the Unity engine, what is going to be possible as far as destructible environments?
So I think a good rule of thumb is that if it's man-made, we'd like it to be destructible. We're still the real answer again here is we don't know yet, but we want to be able to smash things because giant stompy robots stomp on things.
So the goal is as
and
much
then
as
there's a
possible.
secondary layer of just like decorative destruction, like if you're walking through a scene having trails of little of dust and flattening the grass. I don't know how much we'll have that, but just
leaving footprints is important.
Footprints and really selling the scale of warfare as best we can.
But don't expect deformable terrain.
No,
the terrain,
we're not going there. But our goal, as Mike said, is if man built it, man can take it down.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Next question. We're gonna
or women. If women built it, women can take them down too.
Humanity.
That's
we're
right.
probably talking about damaged states rather than not like physics-based craziness or anything. Just damage a thing and it falls apart.
All right, so this is actually two questions, and it's a topic of autocannons. We've seen many variations throughout the years, and even MWO, where you have one shot, and then you have ones that have multiple shots. You read in the novels, it describes sort of like modern day, 30 mics and all this. How are you looking at doing autocannons? And then the second question is, are you guys looking at expanding into actually having different ammo types, like armor piercing, where you don't really have that in the tabletop per se, heat rounds, or that they have different effects on armor, internal structures and stuff?
Let me start with the first one and then we'll speculate on the second one. I think one of the things that we're, at least, again, this is kind of starting position, and so subject to change, but our starting position is that the autocannons, visually, they may look like they're, putting out, like the smaller caliber ones may look like they're putting out a bunch of rounds, but from a mechanical standpoint, they're more of a precision weapon, right? They don't spread like a missile does, and I think the important part is being able to distinguish them from missiles because of the fact that they don't spread damage across a wide area. So they're in what we classify as kind of a precision weapon, which is beam weapons and the smaller caliber ballistics are kind of precision, as opposed to missiles or larger caliber ballistics, which are kind of spread weapons. So that's how visually we may treat them more to look more like a high rate of fire, but from a mechanical standpoint, we're thinking that they're precision. They hit one place. Now, again, we'll see how that as we get that into play and if that's still working. But that's at least our starting position on that. In terms of different types of ammo, we haven't really gotten that far yet. We do, in general, like the idea of offering different tactical options, right? So heat rounds are a great example because, that isn't about doing damage, it's about denying activity to your opponent. And that's where flamers filled the role in BattleTech, and we like being able to have that kind of strategic options where how you're engaging with the enemy, what you're trying to do. You have more breadth of design space there. Whether flamers satisfy it enough, and we don't need to look at other types of ammo, we'll have to wait until we get farther into design and balance to see. But the concept is one that we definitely want to embrace.
One thing I think we try to do as best we can is focus design choices and systems from the core outwards. So, ammo I think is a great example, or ammo types is a great example of the type of system that can be layered on top of something else, but or of sort of the core combat mechanics in an interesting way. But I guess where I'm going with that is we try to, rather than start with here's a giant bucket of all the things we want, we try to start with, well, here's core design goals and ideas, and here's what the gameplay loop should be, and then that will both create a sense of, well, what are the things that would be best to layer on top of this, and what are some things that this needs, and what are some things that need to be layered on top of this to solve specific gameplay problems that we so we try to construct in layers like that, rather than just say here's sort of the kitchen sink of all the awesome features and we want them all. It's like, well, we do want them all, that is true. But it's a discipline to sort of keeping the bucket of Legos here and then putting them on when there's the right place for them on the larger armature of the project.
Armature is a vocabulary word.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Not bad for this early in the morning.
Makes
Okay.
one of us, pal.
The next question is regarding verticality. How much will verticality play a role in the combat system? Will it be similar to how it's handled in the tabletop? Could combat involve utilizing buildings as cover, or perhaps hiding in the structure of a rundown building in something like a city fight?
Well, we want to have jump jets.
Yeah, and we do want both natural terrain and man-made terrain to be able to be used as cover. Obviously, one of the interesting diversion points, right, is mechs are not like soldiers in XCOM, right? They're not running from garbage can to car, ducking down behind each one. But yet, cover is still an important component, just not quite used in the same way. So we do see larger objects like buildings and hills and being used as cover. We see things like trees being used as modifiers to hit, because you're having to charge through them, and modifiers for movement as you wade through them, break them down. So we do see that, and hopefully, and we the terrain elevation, shooting from a higher elevation will give you an advantage as well, as it did in the board game. That's our intentions.
One more just point of we intend to create freeform terrain, more like a MechWarrior game, than sort of tiered terrain, where it's like only fixed elevation levels, more freeform, naturalistic.
Follow-up question from me.
This is how this is gonna go now.
It is. It's our company, man. Can my Jump Raven go on a building?
I don't know. Because you put jump jets on it?
But yeah, it's called Jump Raven for a reason.
There you go.
So yeah, I would love it. Just as a fan, I would love my Jump Raven to go on a building.
It was one of the funnest things I remember when we were doing the original board game,
Yeah.
being able to jump up on top of a building and shoot down, and
Oh my god!
it was great.
And I want a screenshot of that. I just want. Right.
So
Layers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, what I am also modeling is exactly how it works to be a fan and a game developer at the same time, right? And you need that discipline, because of course we want these things. We all want these. I want everything. I want land air mechs.
okay.
Not today.
Can of worms.
No. This is just a
Mitch,
one.
So
this is not your typical role in these conversations.
No, my typical role is to say no. This is the balancing act between being a gamer and a game developer.
Right.
But we're not doing land air mechs in the first version.
Nope.
All right,
because
next.
we've already had this conversation.
Crossing off that question.
So this one's for you, Jordan, and it says, "What are Jordan's thoughts on and on or about the Dark Age? Who came up with it, and would you revert it?"
That sounds like a follow-up to that other question. What would you change about Battletech history?
Obviously,
What
a
would you
fan of
change
the
about
Dark
your own
Age.
history?
All right. Well, I'm guilty of doing Dark Age. That was I was at WizKids. We were looking for kind of a way to have a wider range of mechs and because the original BattleTech, talked about some mechs having internal combustion engines, and I was like, well, we should really kind of explore that space and look at this wider divergence of mech performance. So yeah, I'm the one guilty of that. Would I change it? Yeah, I think there's some things I would change. I think we were trying to make the tabletop game much more broadly accessible. Like we had done with HeroClix and with Mage Knight, and I think we were only partially successful in that. The Fent, I think it brought combined arms combat much more to the forefront. I thought in a fun way. But from a fiction standpoint, I think it was only partially successful.
All right. Next question is, why does game development take so long, and why can't this game be ready in 11 days? I'm just joking. That was my question. The real question is...
Hey, I'm wondering the same thing. That sounds great.
I
would
wish.
be able to ship more games. I like that idea.
I know. I'm so anxious for this. Okay, but next question is, any thoughts on how heat will work? This is a controversial topic sometimes. What are your guys' take on heat in this game?
What's the controversy?
Yeah. Can you guys summarize that?
Just different ways heat scale has worked in different games, and Phil, maybe you can...
Well, throw me under the bus. You said it, not me. No, I think it comes down to the heat differences. Obviously, you guys are going 30-25. A lot of the discussion usually goes around when clans are introduced as well, and just sort of the negative effects. And the cool thing that you guys are doing is turn-based, so you can utilize some of those like modifiers that you don't necessarily see like in a real-time game. But there's a lot of discussion usually. You got the whole 10-second thing, and obviously you guys have stated you're not sticking exactly to tabletop, but you're using it as a reference and you'll adapt. And so I don't know if it's a controversy, but it's definitely a topic.
I think your points are well taken, Phil, and the fact that we are turn-based allows us to kind of reflect heat in a manner that is much closer to the original tabletop than has been able to be done in the real-time games. You see, that your actions each have a distinct amount of heat that they'll generate, and your heat sinks and environment will then dissipate a distinct amount so that you can plan that resource. And you'll know when you're pushing the button, to push yourself into different danger zones relation to heat. Now, of course, that's referring to the earlier question. That's outside of the context of what your enemy does to you, right? But in terms of your own actions and the resource managing the resource internally, we want that to be a conscious, calculated effort.
We want you to be able to stand in a pool of water and cool your mech down.
Yeah, and we want you to be able to consciously take the risk to run heat up on the premise, knowing that you have a chance of ammo cooking off. But that you need that shot now, and you're going to take the chance.
Question for Mitch, because I think he'd give an appropriate answer.
I think these guys don't want me answering any more questions.
That's why I'm asking you. Will a mech warrior be able to pass out?
Oh, I don't know. That's for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly it's one of the things that we would love to be able to do. Again, these mech warriors are people that we want you're going to be managing their careers and you're invested in, and so yeah, when they gets really hot, we'd love for them to be able to pass out, take wounds, and so
there has to be repercussions for heat to make heat interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they'll definitely be based on combat injuries, recovery time, in the med bay, whatever. But as far as passing out specifically on the battlefield, it really comes down to whether it's fun or not.
Yeah.
Phil, did you have a follow-up?
Nope, you're good.
All right, next question is, how much will the Battletech game and the Stackpole novellas share characters, storyline, events, or anything else? Will there be any tie-in?
There'll be some connection points. We don't know how much yet, though. We're excited to see. We're at 3 novellas at the moment, which is very exciting, and the potential still exists that we get to a 4th. I was just corresponding with Mike today about setting up time where we can get together and start working on the structure of the novellas and connection with how the game story is developing. We know that they won't tell the same story, right? So we definitely want them to connect, but not to one to retell the other.
Yeah, and one other thing that we're really sensitive to is the idea of dependency. So we don't want to constrain Mike and not have him be able to start his work because he's waiting on us for a whole bunch of stuff too.
Yeah, and as one of the things we know very well from game development, which is that game stories change
Sometimes at the last minute.
Over the course of development, there's just a lot of moving factors, and a level you were really counting on just doesn't work, and all of a sudden you have to rewrite the story to get around it at the 11th hour, things like that. And so, whereas novels, have a very different development process.
And very different story needs and constraints.
Yeah.
The storytelling really adapts to the medium in a lot of ways.
Absolutely true, and so that's why we don't want to create that level of high dependency, and so that's why they will connect, but they will not be the same story trying to be told in both.
Just means you guys get more cool Battletech stories.
Yeah.
Well, and on that topic, another question was, any word on more backer missions so that we can max out and get the entire novel?
There's nothing to announce, but we have plans. Within plans.
Plans within plans within plans.
Oh, we've been announcing it. We typically announce those on Wednesdays, right?
Typically.
Yeah.
So yeah, one came out yesterday, which is almost a Wednesday. And there'll be more.
Yeah.
All right, Phil, you got the next one?
Just 1 second. It was scrolled up. 1 sec.
Yeah, we got a big document, guys. Just keep.
And I
firing
just
those
want to say we've got a few people in chat that are saying my question hasn't been asked, guys. We have a whole list. Just because your question hasn't been answered or asked, it may get to it. And if it's already been answered, we try to do our best to not ask it again. But we're only human, and just don't have those high expectations. It's
Patience,
crazy.
people.
All right.
And if we're lucky, if the global Battletech community keeps unlocking stuff, we could do another live stream.
Yeah,
Right.
doesn't the
And
next
we'll be drunk,
live...
so easily taken advantage
Well,
of.
I don't know if we'll start drunk. I think there's a process.
Well,
involved.
no, I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike's going to put more Legos on the table.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to lock the Lego box up.
All right, next question, I'll just, while Phil's sorting through, will you be able to do called shots, like aim shots, basically? Aim for a particular component.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah, I think one of the things we were talking about before, again, these are design directions, right? Until it's actually all running and it's fun, nothing's committed. But one of the things we were talking about before when we got on the on the autocannon question was our kind of concept of precision weapons versus spread weapons, and so our intention and to try, and we'll see if it works from a fun standpoint, is that if you've set up a weapons group that's all precision weapons, that underneath the right circumstances, you would be able to narrow your targeting to areas of the mech as opposed to just generally the mech.
Sounds
Called
good.
shot with an LRM, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Phil, you got a really great question ready?
All right. So it says, will there be fire effects in the game? Can I pick up a tree and use it as a club?
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go no.
Make
No.
the artist and me cringe a little. Now, yeah, that sort of interaction It's probably
I typed a lot about that.
I'm sure you said, pick up a tree and use it.
No.
well, if we type
That's
it,
what
it
I'm
makes
talking
it.
about.
No.
Is there fire in the game? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Fire in the game.
I missed the part about picking it up and using the tree. as a club.
That's why I'm just gonna go. No.
No. Okay, yeah, we're gonna say no to that one. Yeah, no, you can't pick the tree up and use it in the club. Can you?
All right.
But I think it is possible that we could light a tree on fire, and that fire could spread and cause heat effects across the board. That's potentially possible. Picking up the tree and using it as a club is kind of outside of the fidelity of our animation system that we anticipate.
What he means is no.
Yeah, no on that one.
All right, easy enough. Will you be able to power up and power down mechs to hide your sensor signature?
I think so. We got. I mean, I think
I've done it successfully.
in that sensor warfare concept. I think that would be one of the tools at your disposal.
Phil, you got one, or you want me to take the next one?
We've got one here. Will you be able to fire weapons mid-jump?
While jumping?
Yes. Jump shot.
God. Nothing but net.
Too early. I mean, we're still prototyping a lot of.
Yeah, some of these questions are
like
wildly
the nature
specific.
of movement and combat.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, in BattleTech, the relationship between movement and fire has always been one of tension, because getting the both movement and combat to be important in a balanced way has always been a challenge, in the way that the game's laid out. So we're still working on a lot of different approaches to that. So don't know yet on.
Actually, I'm just thinking, how do you do that in a turn-based game in a way?
It's probably a special ability.
Yeah. That was interesting. Yeah.
Next question is, will the game be entirely turn-based or only the combat sections?
It's a turn-based tactical game. So when you're on the battlefield, you are in a turn mode. In between missions, you're going on sort of a day-to-day basis, advancing time and managing your mercenary outfit.
Right. It's still a turn. It's still turns. It's just that turns are now, instead of equal a longer period of time.
And remember,
days
you're
or
not
weeks or whatever.
Yeah. Again, this isn't an RPG, so you won't be wandering around talking to people.
Correct.
All right, next question. Will we be able to add our own logos to single-player campaign?
We'll be creating an emblem generator for your mercenary outfit.
Right, but the question is, can you import?
Now, I think right now we're envisioning that you can construct an enormous variety of ones from the pieces we provide, but right now we don't have an upload concept.
Just trying to sort through and find new questions that haven't been answered so far or in previous. Will machine guns cooking off be instant death like the tabletop, or more reasonable? That's interesting.
That is interesting.
We look forward to finding out.
Yeah.
I'm assuming reasonable, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want, especially machine guns, right? I mean, because machine guns, as we discussed before, are primarily an anti-personnel kind of tool, and until we figure out how we're dealing with infantry, we don't know what role machine guns are going to play. But certainly, their ammo going off killing the mech doesn't seem fun.
Now you guys have referred to the timeline before. This question has to do, will you be sticking to 3025? Will it move past 3025 at all? And they're talking specifics. They want the Wolfhound and the Yenlo Wing, which comes out, I believe, 3028. So any idea on movement of the timeline, or has that not been determined yet?
We're still working with kind of the overall concept of time and how that's going to advance in the game from a world standpoint. As you're playing your individual scenario, as you're playing your individual first player game, you're advancing through months, but we are still wrestling with how that then connects to world time. So we have a couple of ideas, but too early to kind of tie them down until we actually can vet them out. So that will be the subject of development updates in the upcoming months.
What we've said before is that we're more on the, at least in this initial campaign, measuring time in terms of the length of your career rather than on a year-to-year basis. Regardless of any specific story events that unfold, we're not going to hit the fourth succession war.
In the context of this game.
We're not going to hit there's a lost tech cache that's discovered somewhere in between our time and the fourth succession war. We're not going to hit big events like that.
All right, next question we have. For the player character origin stories, is there any way we could, once Kickstarter is done, get a template for being able to write those stories ahead of time, please? Or will we be able to, or will there be too many choices involved to allow a release like that?
I think the questioner is misunderstanding the intent of that feature. Right? The idea is that we will have, I believe, 6 story options for you to choose from for your origin.
Well,
Maybe more than 6.
Yeah, we don't know.
What we said was 6 or right.
Yeah.
That's what it says. So, but it's not like, templates where you can write your own thing. That's not the intention of the feature.
Correct. I think the goal is to give you some agency in terms of determining your background.
Right.
But it's from either pieces or fully assembled, histories that we've written that then work within the context of the campaign, because we want the choices you've made in your backstory to actually then have impact on the story. And if we kind of create it as an open type anything you want, then we couldn't create that connective tissue.
And we couldn't have voice actors help out with that.
All right, next question is regarding weapon customization. How customizable will weapon systems be on the mechs? To clarify, will I be able to put, say, 5 autocannons on a Marauder 3R, or will the game follow a model similar to MWO where there will be specific weapon hardpoints?
So
Read the fact.
Yeah, this is still early in development. The fact kind of goes into this in more depth. But as Mike referred to earlier, our goal is that the Marauder still within the range of customization we're allowing you, the Marauder still feels like the Marauder. We don't want the chassis to become kind of just different looking abstractions of weapon platforms. And so we're still we don't know where that balance point is yet. We're still too early on until we get the kind of core combat dynamics established, and we build out from there. We don't know exactly where that dividing line is, but we do know from a goal standpoint, we want them to maintain identity. And so that will create some constraints. We just don't know what those constraints are yet.
All right, George Ledoux has a question for Mike. He wants to know if there can be dynamic facial hair on his character.
Dynamic, no. Facial hair, yes.
There you go, George.
Also, another George Ledoux question. Will Duncan Fisher have his own private room available for lap dances in the Valhalla Club?
Boy, George.
How old would he be in 3025?
Well, there are many people named Duncan Fisher throughout Battletech fiction, we've just decided. Yeah,
like the Dread Pirate Robert.
Yeah.
No, that's the bounty hunter.
Right.
That's the bounty hunter.
Right. We should stay away from lap dances.
I think as a general rule, we're staying away from lap dances.
Next question, please.
All right.
I got one.
Okay, you got it.
Any plans for Comstar? Can we fight against them, work with them, become a secret agent?
Wait, is this a Lenny question?
It might be one of our Word of Blake fanatics, but he's.
It's funny.
It's a valid question.
Fanatic, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So we like Comstar a lot. We think they're a wonderfully mysterious organization, and so we definitely want to be playing around with them in the story and in the world. We can't sign up to commit that you're going to get to go fight them, but we do want them to factor into the game in more ways than just the AT&T logo on the corner of your Merc board. We hold out hopes that they get engaged in more interesting ways in the gameplay.
Storytelling standpoint too, the Comstar is so mysterious, and there's a real just excitement to those secrets, and that sense of, well, there's stuff going on that you don't understand, and they're obviously they control a lot of stuff in the Battletech universe. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, from a storytelling standpoint, I think it's most compelling to work them in little subtle ways, and as a sort of clearly behind the scenes meddler to some extent in some areas, but not necessarily casting a bright light on
They're
them.
more like dragons.
Sure. Or, it's
Well,
just, it's
the Spider Master. I mean, come on, Comstar is
Yeah.
the Spider Master.
Yeah,
right?
so is Dunkelzon.
Yeah.
Just saying.
oh, that kind of, I see what you-
All right.
How you guys feeling? We've
Yeah,
been going about an
embarrassed.
hour and a half. You guys want to do some quick questions?
Yeah, why don't
Yeah.
we go into rapid fire mode here?
Yeah, it's bonus round, and points are doubled.
There's been quite a few questions about quad mechs. Again, you guys have discussed this in the past. Maybe I'll word it a little bit differently. Regarding mech models and the mechs that you're going to be bringing into the game, are you going to be using any? Are you going to be making any mech models yourself, or are you going to be limiting yourself to the mechs that are in MWO, so people can use that as a reference point, which everybody knows that there are not going to be quad mechs in MWO. So how would you answer that?
So quad mechs is, I think, a firm no for this game. Making our own mechs in general is something we're looking into, but TBD.
All right, Phil.
Since MechWarriors can die, what type of command structure will be used, COs, XOs, and will it have any effect on the expanded campaign?
Great question. MechWarriors can die, and structure. I think that'll flow out of other design decisions as far as how you manage and upgrade your mercenaries and their skill growth and all that.
Will mechs be able to go prone?
Not in our current model. What we're looking at is kind of, we do want mechs to stumble. We want them to fall. We want them to get up. Whether they, stay prone. We don't currently see models where they're staying prone. We do have kind of something that we're exploring, kind of, we're calling kind of knee down. But that's as close as we're currently thinking, and we don't even know if that's going to work yet.
Someone just
Turn
asked.
that into a no for the prone question.
Oh yeah, I think we can turn that into. I completely agree with that. Even the knee down is kind of like highly questionable, because if your knees go backwards,
So next question we have is someone has said, when is the Battletech website can be expanded and forums included?
That's-
Meki? Yeah, step in. Producer Chris is going to say a few words.
Howdy,
Hi, Chris.
folks. You actually get to see me on camera rather than behind the scenes. We are currently working on the forums right now, and the current plan is to have them available to start, letting you guys have conversations right after the Kickstarter. Basically, starting to get the conversations from Kickstarter into more of a forum structure. Carry on the conversation. That's what we want to do.
There it is. You
Yep.
heard it right from the horse.
Excellent news, because people
Thank you.
were
Sorry. From now on, his call sign is horse. Wow.
You were
He's there,
Mitch, you
Johnny.
mentioned discussion earlier, and people discussing amongst themselves the various features in the game and so forth, and so that was asked a lot. Where are the forums, and when are they going to be up? So good answer. The next question is regarding I guess dual cockpit mechs. It could be like a command mech or one where there's a pilot and a gunner. Are there any plans for dual cockpits?
Well, the only one that I think we have in the early era is the Battlemaster, and I haven't looked to see if the model of the Battlemaster actually embraces that concept. We haven't really cracked that one open yet at all yet. So
Unlikely.
Another question is regards to voice acting. Are you guys
Wow.
are you looking for voice actors? Are you taking volunteers? There's, I guess, a lot of voice actors in the
I'll
chat.
take that one for right now. So first of all, we are talking to some known voice actors that are known to Battletech fans, and they seem very excited about the opportunity to work on Battletech. No announcements yet, because they're actors and you actually have to have contracts with them and things like that. But we're excited about that. we've been talking about the idea of MechWarrior emotes, possibly allowing other people to do that. And that's a cool idea. The jury's still out on it, but we're definitely thinking about it. Because that would be a fun way to get you guys in the game.
All right, so we have a question live. It says, in the expanded campaign, if you fail a mission on a planet, is it possible to have a series of missions like branch off of that?
Yeah, one of the toughest design challenges for us in this game is how to encourage you to continue to move forward after something has gone wrong, right? Because there's kind of a knee-jerk player reaction to, well, just go back to an old save game and optimum path your way through the entire thing. To us, that would take a lot of the flavor out of the character that you're playing, right? That you're a mercenary and things don't always go well, and recovering from that can actually lead to some of the more interesting gameplay. So our goal would be that indeed, if you're in a place where things have not gone well, that leads to more interesting gameplay that you discover by recovering from that versus going back and hitting a save game and just replaying that mission. The actual mechanics of how some of that work, TBD, but that's certainly kind of our goal.
Yeah, but the idea of sort of branching missions is probably out of scope. Like that, right? Where you fail that mission, which spawns a couple more missions.
Well, but it would, yeah, we're looking at that happening, primarily through kind of the contract offering system.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so I guess
Aesthetically, yes,
you
from
think
the
of
story
it
point of
more as game systems and less as scripted game events.
That's exactly
right?
it,
So
yeah.
if
Thanks for
that
that
hurts your
clarification.
reputation, that could either lock you out of some other missions or open up other opportunities with another employer, depending on the nature of the failure.
Mhm.
But that's all systemic, not
Right.
not a sort of scripted giant tree of options.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys for taking your time. We got one more question, which Mike, I'm going to let you answer this question. We do have, just before we get to that though, we do have another Q&A coming up at some point. The date has not been announced. There may be some drinking involved, so I don't know what the...
Well,
That one
not
has to be unlocked. They're
Yeah.
backer missions. You got to earn enough
Well,
points.
yeah, I guess I was assuming that, of course, everything is going
So
to
what
be
do they
unlocked.
need to do to, like, what
Yeah,
specifically?
what do people need to do right now to make sure that
To get
that
you
happens?
drunk? That's basically what we're...
So actually, to get me drunk, you
Not
don't need
much,
you need to buy. But for the rest of us, as a team, what you need to do is go to our Kickstarter page, the main page, and you'll see if you scroll to the bottom, there are backer missions and there are weekly bonus backer missions. And to go on these backer missions, it's usually about sharing. So using hashtag, like right now, it's what's my
Hashtag FaveBTMech.
hashtag FaveBTMech to tell us your favorite mech and why. And when you tweet out or use Facebook on those kind of things, then we'll track that. And by the numbers of people doing that sort of mission, you'll earn points that then correspond with rewards that are also listed on our Kickstarter page. So it's all about getting the word out about the game. We've got a lot of great backers, a lot of participation in this. We're learning a lot about you and all that kind of stuff. But what we're also trying to do very bluntly is spread the word about our Kickstarter, because we want more backers. The more backers we are, the stronger the game is, and the more chances we have of making more gameplay for you in the future. That's the deal.
All right, Mike, you get to finish this off here. The Kickstarter is over in 11 days. What then?
Sleep?
Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually taking a brief vacation into November, and then I mean, the real answer is we just keep doing what we're doing. We've already been able to dive into a lot of fun systems that we're exploring and prototyping for the game. So we're gonna keep going full steam ahead. Some of more conversations about multiplayer will hopefully also ramp up in success here on the Kickstarter. But
I mean, I think the hard part to visualize is that the end of the Kickstarter is really just the start of development. So it's not the end of the race; it's the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
If we
and
work very hard for the opportunity to work very hard.
To work really hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, it's at that point, it's It's, we know now the size of the game, we know now the primary features of the game, and so it's all heads down to go make that game.
And I'm hoping that my cats will accept me back into my home after this ends too.
All right. Well, I was just informed by Zarnia that we've reached 36 points, which unlocks the next backer mission for a cameo of Morgan Kell, and we're 4 points away from getting these guys
Nice.
drunk. So let's get to the
Only
backer
4,
missions,
huh?
guys.
Okay.
Yeah, not to put any pressure on you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for organizing this again for us. We really appreciate that. And it looks like we'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, and thanks so much for the questions. Especially, I know some of those questions came from our German backers. Thank you for those too.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jordan, Mitch, and Mike. And thank you, everybody in the live chat. Thank you for the people that have been helping behind the scenes, Lenny and Impy and everybody else. We appreciate it. And Phil, you want to take us out?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to HBS, all of you guys. I'm super excited. It's one of those things I gotta control the emotive part and say I really want this like right now.
Seriously.
And it's the patience thing, and that's one thing we always talk about in GG. It's like you just gotta be patient sometimes, and the struggle's real. But anyways, just want to say thank you to Darren, and thank you to all of you guys out there watching and listening. We will have this up on YouTube, and I'm sure HBS will also put it up on their YouTube. But yeah, just want to say thank you. If you are new to the channel and you like what we do here, hit that follow button. That way you guys get email notifications. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and check out our YouTube content. Maybe you like mech porn. We have a literally plethora of mech porn. We have all the mech porn and your needs.
It is the internet.
It is the internet, and I'm sure someone might be streaming on here a little bit later. But anyways, just want to say thank you guys. Have a great and safe weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and let's get that hashtag fave BT Mech out there, because
Yes.
I want to see Jordan and Mike over there. I've heard some stories. I'm just saying. I've heard.
Did you know Mitch is Batman? He's
Yeah.
Batman. Look at that jaw.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why I wear the beard. This is actually a removable beard, so that when I put on my cape and cowl,
There
you
you go.
won't know.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Have a great.
Convenient that it's removable, Mitch, because you'll need that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, if we hit that final backer mission reward, we'll do a Battletech game 3-on-3 with Catalyst, and
Nice.
6 beards enter, 3 beards leave.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you, I guess,
guys.
later. So until next time, Mech Warriors. Bye.
Peace out.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.